what Saint Larice was saying, where I think he is misunderstanding. I'm saying that men need to listen to their woman, or whether they're their wife, the girlfriend, like he was saying prior to, I need to know, she's in that stage, she's going to teach you what she needs, and either you're going to meet that or not, right? So what's that saying about, you teach people how you want to be treated, and the idea of saying like, what can your mother teach you, kind of feels like you may feel like women don't have nothing to offer you, because I think that it should be your first teacher about how to interact with women. Not saying that your father isn't going to teach you, because he should, especially if both of them are in a household. But being able to watch the way that your dad treats your mom is going to show you one thing, but seeing how your mom treats your dad and interact with your dad will also teach you some things as well. So that having both of those dynamic makes you a more well-rounded and prepared person for when you enter a relationship with somebody else. And I mean, maybe my situation is different in terms of the way I grew up, but my mom wasn't just a person to be like, all women are right, or you got to do X, Y, and Z. Like, I just think maybe that has been your experience. But when you have good parenting, there's correction coming from both ends. You get it from your mom and your dad. Your mom is gonna gauge you in a way of saying, no, young ladies, don't do this. No, when you speak to men, you do X, Y, and Z, or what have you. So I just think that that's probably your experience that you've had growing up. But I no.
I would agree with Miss Taken a lot on that. That really hit a chord for me, because me personally, growing up in a house with two separate cultures, two separate languages, that was constant. The community, my parents been together 38 years, and they learn from each other on a regular basis to this day. The communication had to go both ways with everything that they've been able to accomplish in life. And it wouldn't, and my dad is very receptive of my mom. Everything down to how to set the rice cooker, to how to communicate what she feels, how she feels about family relationships, this and that and the third. So I totally agree with everything that you've said, Miss Taken.
I would like to say is that to Hank's point, I get what he's trying to say, as in, men really need to take ownership of making sure that they're cultivating these boys to understand manhood. But definitely with the rest of the ladies, when it comes down to understanding women and how to treat their women, there is some good insight that they can get from women. We tend to forget that women used to be the original educators and the rendering of children way before. Like, most of our school systems was only just women as teachers. So these were the ones who was instructed to teach the future. So now to undermine what women have always brung when it came down to our future in this society is kind of disheartening, especially for me. With my job, I have almost over 20 years of being a leader over men, and that and leading them. So for you to say that in a way that we can't do this and we can't do that is kind of disheartening. It's definitely, his opinion, but there has been roles where women have been able to help men as much as possible. But we can't tell them what they're going to go through when it's like being with manhood and how they're supposed to deal with other men, right? Especially when it's coming to competing for jobs, women, and resources. We can't teach them that, but there is things that we definitely can help them with. So.
Somebody come off the mic. Okay, go ahead, Jay.
I think a male-female relationship is definitely very powerful if you can attain it. However, you can attain it, because it usually happens. You have friend zone. I mean, you have people that were actually raised up together. So I know those friendships are achieved, but most of it comes from one person being attracted to the other and the feeling not being mutual. And feelings evolve in that, which usually stray them away from each other. But if they can fight through that, it's a beneficial friendship. I think women can teach men about women. I don't think they can teach men how to treat women, because there's so many different archetypes of women that a woman knows about, and they can give you insight. You know, you at the salon with them, some of them are in your friend group, some of them are in your group chat. You know those types, so you can definitely give us insight on the archetype of the different women. But I don't think you could ever teach us how to treat women, because we would get destroyed out there. You know, the stuff, the information that you would provide us, the stuff you would tell us to do, we would get destroyed out there if you were saying do that. I think you give us insight on how to identify what we want or what's more our type, and that's beneficial.
Okay. Go ahead, Viz.
Yeah.
Jay agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Jay. I think if men solely listen to women, it'll absolutely be a catastrophe. Like, it'll be horrible. And that'll it's a quick way to burn. But I think that there is in all things in life, there's a balance that has to be applied. So just being aware of that goes a long way. There's a lot of things that that me and my old lady that we view differently, but due to the fact that she understands that this is what I stand on and I won't be swayed on, she respects it. But I also take that into thought whenever there's something that's being presented where it should be applied or even considered. I know recently we were just having a conversation on empathy. Me personally, I'm not the biggest person or fan of empathy in certain situations, but just being aware of the context, you know, I know when to apply it and when not to. So I think that we can all learn something from each other. We just have to be open to it. And even to Hink's point, I do agree with what he's saying, and I think maybe it's just coming off more harsh. But of course, he's intending it to be very direct. But I, I think that we are currently seeing the aftermath of women predominantly influencing our young boys, and that's why a lot of them are soft or coming out the closet, or wearing heels or painting their fingernails or whatever. Yeah, sure. There's a sense of them expressing themselves, but are they expressing themselves, or are they just expressing what they've been influenced by?
Go ahead, Shane.
So I think that I hear what Viz is saying, but I think it's more because there's an imbalance. There are women, but then there are no men. I think if we had men doing the same amount as the women, there would be a balance in it. And so the problem is not because of women. It's just, well, it's not because of women, but it's simply because there needs to be a balance. There needs to be more men and women together influencing women. Kids need masculine and they need feminine energy. They need both. So they have different roles in people's lives. So I think that that's the issue.
No, I agree with that. But I think that it is, we see often the extreme of everything. That seems to be the thing that's riding right now. It's the extreme of women wanting to push their influence, and it's the extreme of men wanting to push their influence. So we have the toxic masculinity, the toxic feminists, or the alphabet people. Everybody is to the extreme right now. So
and that's probably because they too have been raised in a situation where they had one or the other, too much of one or the other.
They come from a place that was an imbalance, so they keep preaching. It's a generational curse. It just keeps
For sure.
on giving.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I won't be surprised, man. What's it? Like MGTOW, that's extreme. It's like don't deal with anything. You know what I mean? Don't. What's the next extreme after that?
It's scary, bro.
It's gonna be dudes being like, "Yo, man, let's go get castrated," so you don't even have to think about it. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a movement of cats talking about, "Yo, man, just cut your dicks off, man. It'll save you a lot of time in life." Exactly. It's extreme. Y'all are absolutely right.
But that won't come from a woman.
No. Nah. I'm saying, like, you know, it keeps getting more.
Yeah, I mean, shit, we're even at a point where most people can't even tell you what a woman is. You know what I'm saying? So it's God knows what's next.
Yep. Val, did you want to say something? Like you might was going. You good?
No, I'm
Okay.
good.
All right. Any final thoughts on this one before we move on? Yeah.
We are beneficial to each other.
And we need both energies. We need masculine and femininity. Both. It's not exclusive to one gender.
Facts.
One more thing. You know how often my son, well, I wouldn't say often, he's called me several times to ask for advice about how he should handle a situation with his wife from a female perspective and being married. He's, newly married, young, married, and there's a lot that he doesn't know. So he goes to his dad for certain things, but he understands that he's learning learning his wife in the capacity of a husband, and being that he grew up with me and his dad together, he trusts both of our judgments in regards to that. But specifically when it comes to his wife, it may be something that he doesn't understand. Like, why, like the sentence might start off, why do women blah, blah, blah. That's because he can't go to his dad about explaining something like that, because his dad would never know why women don't do X, Y, and Z. Because his dad thinks, oh,
Women don't know why they do X, Y, and Z half the
no,
time.
his thing is all women are crazy, right? so he's not gonna understand the emotional aspect to a woman. So it makes sense that his son would come to me to help navigate him through some of the things that his wife might be doing that he doesn't understand. So that's another way that a woman can kind of impart some knowledge, to you that'll help you be better.
Yeah, that's a problem. Why is he coming to you to know about his wife?
Because his dad can't
That's
tell
a problem.
him.
He shouldn't be coming to neither one of y'all. I need to go to my wife. If I got an issue or something I can't figure out my wife, baby, what's going on? Let's have a conversation. Why am I talking to you? You're not my wife. Your husband is not his wife. I need to be talking to my wife and trying to get clarity from her.
I'm sorry,
not from my mother, not from my auntie. Don't do
I'm
that.
sorry.
Don't do it.
I'm glad you're
making fun of. Okay, I'm glad you're making fun of men who don't have support system, as you call it. But most men don't have the support system, as you call it. But you can make fun of me if you want to. That shit don't bother me. Women don't move me like that. I'm better than that. Oh. So again, why is a man going to his mother to ask about his wife? And why can't I have a conversation with my wife to talk about what's going on with her? What's wrong with that? That should be the first thing. I shouldn't be coming to somebody else about my wife. I know my wife better than any other woman. I know maybe her mother. I give her granted a benefit of that. But I need to be going to my wife to ask her about her, inquiring about what's wrong, baby. What's the problem? Why are you down? What are you upset about? That's the way it should be. I shouldn't be going outside for what? What are you going? Why are you involving yourself in the business? It shouldn't be. So you could pass judgment on this woman? Yeah, that's sickening.
I don't know. I agree with what you're saying, but I also I also think that you know,
Wait,
with
hold on, Biz.
women, sometimes
Can I
they want.
respond since he was responding to what I was saying, just real quick?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Only because the situation is that I think that's part of the problem why marriages don't last. It's some people that you need to have in your corner, especially elders, to help guide you. My son got married at 21, and he's navigating learning to become a man, which I can't help him with. That's something his dad has to navigating being his own man while at the simultaneously being a husband, right? So the fact that he has a support system, I'm not going to gear my son wrong because I want his marriage to succeed. He grew up in a home where his parents was married, and I want the same for him. So I want him to avoid pitfalls that we did early on in our marriage. So he comes to us, not just him, even my daughter-in-law. She calls me too. And I agree with you. It needs to be a situation in which they are communicating with each other. But if both of them are coming to say, how do I approach this situation? It's okay to get feedback from people to help you. So, I mean, like I said, if I think that's part of the problem is that we always try to figure things out on our own without necessarily having elders to go to that's going to give us that advice that is something that you've never experienced before or things like that. But it is not you just go to tell anybody your business. It's about somebody who also wants to see you succeed in your marriage as well. And
I got a question. I got a question for Miss Taken. So when your son or your daughter-in-law came to you, did you listen to what the issue was first, or did you suggest to them to speak with one another and see if they can figure it out? Because that's the way it's supposed to be.
typically when either one has come to me, it's because of a situation that already like happened, and they're trying to see how they can better like make the situation better, something like that. So I would say yes, they've already went towards each other, but now it's just like, well, I'm stuck. Like, how should I, approach this situation this way? Or, if I do it this way, what's gonna, he's just not knowing how to read certain signs and cues of a woman yet, because he's still learning. He hasn't had that much experience in relationship prior to being married. So he does need some guidance from the female side of it in terms of understanding certain things that his wife might do or say, or what this really mean, because what she's saying ain't really what she mean, like that kind of stuff. He hasn't had the experience to learn those things yet. So he does need a little support in that regard.
Yeah, I was gonna say that in most cases, and no disrespect to the women on the panel, but for communication between men and women is completely different. So I can ask you a very direct question, and you give me an answer, and unknowingly I'm supposed to be listening to what you're not saying, much rather than listening to what it is that you are saying. You know, the actual truth of it all would be in that part. And I think that is in that situation, I think that and I do agree with him. I think that whatever happens in this house should stay in this house. But at the same time, I think that with the situation for Mistaken, it sounds like he was seeking knowledge, but also wanting to vent at the same time. Because even in that case, I would have asked you, but I would have followed it up with asking my father. Okay, well, how would you, or how have you navigated through this experience? Because again, Mistaken, you can tell me the surface level of it, or what it sounds like, or what it may feel like, but dad is going to actually tell me, okay, well, I've experienced this before, and this is how I applied it, or you should try this type of deal, where it makes more sense compared to how to come across to a woman, from a woman.
Yeah, I got you. All right, we do gotta with that transition to the next topic, but I think everybody made some excellent points. One of the things I have to understand, Hink, it's not directly to you, but I know you spoke about it, is that there's some men that just don't have no experience with women. Like my lens is much different from some folks, and I had to kind of put myself in their shoes, and they just wasn't getting results with women when they were younger. They haven't really dated anybody. They've been played by every woman, but I gained off all my experience by having relationships and dealing and having conversations with women. But I've been doing that all my life. So nobody taught me. Now, there have been some things that I've learned, even just by having these panels, that I didn't know because I just wasn't having conversations with the right people, or my circle of people that was around me. They were kind of similar with their mindsets. But once I started hearing different perspectives from all walks of life and people I've never known, it's like, now I'm getting some more data. So some people are grown and they lost. They have no clue, no understanding how to communicate. They don't understand how the opposite set works. They don't even understand themselves. So I think they have to get to a point where they're built up some type of way. Now, to each his own, whether it be the man or the woman that's going to be able to teach them, or it could be a little bit of both. But they just got to get it in a position where they're doing more listening instead of talking. A lot of times I just observe. By default, I'm an introvert. So I'm always looking and reading rooms, reading people. I understand body language. I understand nonverbal communication. I just observe everything. And then I collect all the data that I need. And then most of the time, that's how I make my decisions, once I have enough information. Or I have no problem making a decision and just leaning on whichever side that I feel is best at the time. And if it's not correct, guess what? I'll come back and I'll fix it. But some things are just time sensitive. So we have to get to a place where adults are adults. Some of them just going to be lost forever. But we got to get to a place where at least our children or people that's within our household, some always preach that we are giving them the game and the knowledge so that they don't be what the past people have been in the future.